and he's going to house it.
It's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another Angle of Pursuit podcast, your fantasy football, sports betting, and NASCAR home. I am your host, Kyle Robert. You follow me on Twitter at NotoriousKRO. With me to break down Week 16, all the craziness, all the COVID, and all the injuries, it's Brian Twining. What's up, Brian?
Yeah, you said it right there, man. This season has gotten even wackier than we could have imagined, and even more so than the first COVID year. I don't even know how to approach these games anymore, especially with the uncertainty of them all.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we got a little comfortable with just no issues, no problems,
Yep.
no dilemmas, and then all of a sudden just like blunt force to the dome of all these COVID issues. I guess before we talk, obviously we're going to go into Saturday and Sunday slate. We're going to dive into the Thursday night game if that takes our money. Potentially Monday, we'll talk some player props. Obviously, we have your teaser, but what are the big names, the line movers, the ones that we really want to be concerned about that you're paying attention to, that you think have serious potential to affect games this week?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, it's got to be the Chiefs situation with Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill. And also, not to mention, Harrison Butker is officially ruled out this week because he's unvaccinated. Now, you can say kickers, schmickers, like whatever, ban kickers in fantasy, but they play important roles when it comes to, especially lines. And this game's currently sitting at 7.5.
Yeah, Harrison Butker, Justin Tucker, Matt Prater, maybe. Like, there's a few names. As a Titans fan who has had to watch the revolving door of garbage kicker after garbage kicker, those can mean the difference between covering and not covering.
Yep.
Those money line wins.
Well, especially for the Chiefs too, a team that notoriously is very poor against the spread, and now there's a possibility they're without their two top weapons and their field goal kicker.
The line kind of staying where it is makes me think that, at least from a viewpoint, either the money or the book or some combination feels pretty good about them potentially clearing and being fine by the time the weekend rolls around. I think if we watch this line, we get closer to the weekend and it starts plummeting, that's going to be the sign that's saying, hey, Kelce probably out, Tyreek probably out, or some, one or the other, potentially both.
Yeah, I mean, if you feel as if those guys are going to return, and under the new protocols, they have a few days still to clear. I think right now you should jump on the Chiefs, but if you don't think those guys are coming back, I'd be hammering the hell out of Pittsburgh because
and it has dropped.
Out,
it was like 9.5 or 10. Now it's 7.5.
Yeah, but minus those guys, like how trustworthy is this Chiefs offense?
Yeah. Or if you think they're going to clear, then you bet the Chiefs now. You expect them to clear. Maybe that hits 10.5. You bet Pittsburgh at that point, and then try and hit that middle, because that seems like a very reasonable middle ground to hit. I know Austin Eckler popped up on the COVID protocol today.
Yep. Officially, yeah.
Do we have any other potential? I saw Joey Bosa, I believe, is just on the injured reserve or injured list.
Joey Bosa is on COVID list, officially out this week.
Yeah, because he's not vaccinated.
Unvaccinated. There's a few other people. So one situation to continue to monitor here, which I just noticed today, the Raiders had multiple people miss practice today with an illness, and they already put one guy on the list as of this morning. So, and that list includes Josh Jacobs, and now minus Kenyon Drake, it could be the Peyton Barber show in the backfield. And that game this week is basically must win for both of them and Denver, who is going to be without Teddy Bridgewater. So,
yeah. I mean, that's definitely a game that is as you mentioned, from both sides, incredibly interesting. the line is, depending on where you look, a point either way, pick 'em, something like that.
Yeah.
I had an idea about that game, but now
Me too.
and it's interesting too because especially with so for example, Nick Sirianni has popped up on the COVID
Yep.
list. Obviously playing yesterday, so we'll see if any players pop up, if that affects Washington. Obviously, the quicker turnaround to play, Saturday or Sunday versus having the full week to kind of some teams like Kansas City are probably going to be in better spots than other teams like the Raiders, the Browns.
Yep.
That are part of a quicker turnaround. Any other big names? Any other important pieces that you're keeping an eye on that people should know about?
Well, I know for Seattle, Tyler Lockett, Pete Carroll was talking today that it's sounding as if he's going to be taken off the list
Okay.
pretty soon here. So, I mean, if Seattle gets another big piece of that offense back, I mean, they're currently under a touchdown favorite against the Bears.
Yeah.
In Seattle. And then, you look at the other matchups. One of the biggest matchups of the weekend, Indianapolis and Arizona. You got to monitor this situation. Quentin Nelson, missed practice, illness. Indianapolis wins games in the trenches. And if Quentin Nelson misses this matchup and say there's an outbreak on that offensive line, this game could take a completely different turn.
And let's use that as a great jumping off point as we dive into Saturday's slate, because this line is 1 point, pick 'em, depending on where you look.
Yeah.
I love Indy. I think they are heading in the right direction. I think they are so solid on both offense and defensive lines. And Arizona is a team that is struggling, that is having issues when Kyler is not playing at his peak with no DeAndre Hopkins. The offense is not at his, and James Conner, we'll see, is he,
banged up. He should play.
Should play. He's out last week, obviously, so that's a good sign for him to hopefully return this week. Defensive side of the ball is having their struggles. Isaiah Simmons has been banged up. Obviously, J.J. Watt's out. The secondary has their question marks. So if that offensive line can do what they want to do and kind of move the Cardinals around, it's going to be a long day against Indy. But as you mentioned, if Indy has issues along the O-line and they can't get their guys back, we saw what that looked like in the beginning of the year and how much lack of success they had. And when you need Carson Wentz to throw the ball to win games, that's not a recipe for success. So that is an incredibly interesting spot.
Yeah, and then also staying with that game, the Colts also put two defensive players, Rocky Sin and I believe somebody else too, a starting linebacker on the COVID list. So I mean, they could have an issue coming up here as we approach the game on Saturday.
Yeah, and once again, if you feel like that's that stuff starts building up, and you think there could be a real opportunity, you bet Arizona now.
Yeah,
and then
because
you wait,
that line
and then you jump on India when they're like +5 or +6 or whatever.
Yep.
Wild swing. The other game we got, the aforementioned Browns, who really let me down on.
Dude, how?
When did they play? Monday? I feel like there's just football on every day between the bowl games and stuff, so I lose track. But yeah, they have a matchup with the Green Bay, a Packers team that I don't know what to do with them, because they're a 2.5, 3/4 team that plays phenomenally, and then they just take their foot off the gas and they let teams crawl back into games, and they should have lost against Baltimore. That was the outcome they deserved.
Yes, I agree.
Luckily they ended up getting a win there, and in a game that never should have ever been that close. So now the Browns are on the road, 7.5 point underdogs. Feels a bit aggressive, no?
I don't know what to make of this line, because just like you just said right there, it feels too aggressive for me for a team that, even if he doesn't clear the protocol early, Baker Mayfield will be activated as long as he doesn't have any symptoms on Saturday. So he's not going to practice, but he should be coming back.
Yeah.
Nick Chubb didn't didn't suffer any injury or anything against the
And
Raiders, so
as
he's
bad as
healthy.
Nick Mullins was, he definitely wasn't the problem. Your boy,
No.
your Michigan boy, Donovan Peoples-Jones holds onto a couple of those passes,
Yeah.
and we're looking good. And then,
Well,
obviously, it would have been nice for them to get another first down, be able to run out the clock and whatnot. But there was a lot going on there.
yeah, but like as far as this game goes, though, the Browns are another one of those teams where they're not going to play from behind very well, regardless of who's playing quarterback. But if they can play this game their way, run the ball, control the clock, the line is too big right now.
And as we've seen, even against a backup in Tyler Huntley, we've seen them against other teams. Just like, oh yeah, come on back in this game. It's fine.
Yep.
We'll leave the door open for you. We'll let you get some first downs. We're not gonna, we'll start the 4-minute offense in the middle of the second quarter for no reason. I'm not really sure what to make. And then obviously MVS could be out this week. Obviously we'll see, if there's anything else going on there. But that could be another situation where all of a sudden we're looking at, the Packers having some issues, and we're looking at, especially with a Saturday game, a quarterback who's unvaccinated. Who knows what this line sits at by the time we get to kickoff? So grabbing the Browns now, they get some clearances. The Packers have some more guys listed out, and you're looking at a Browns -3, Browns pick 'em, Browns favorite. Who knows?
Yeah, I think the most important injury for Cleveland heading into the game, besides the COVID people, is definitely Myles Garrett. He's dealing with like a groin issue or something. He came out and said he's playing, but
is he playing and ends up having to go out again in the second quarter like Julio Jones?
Oh well, sorry.
Or is he actually able to tough it out and make it through 4 quarters? Because I don't know. Some of these teams are in real tough spots. They have to win their next couple games, and if they don't, then they don't. So, do you have any picks that are for either Saturday game that are going on the list?
Honestly, I can't in good faith give out any picks for either of these games with the uncertainty of the thing. Like you said, the Packers line is too big for me right now, but I don't know what's happening with Cleveland. And then like I like Indy.
Yeah.
Health like if they're healthy, I like Indy to win that game. I'd take them with the money line in Arizona, but I kind of want to wait to see what this illness is with Quentin Nelson, because I mean, as far as offensive linemen go, he's probably one of the top 3 most important to any group in the NFL. So I think that's going to play a major role, and the absence of DeAndre Hopkins for Arizona's passing offense is clear.
Yeah, I'm gonna put Indy on my betting card. Obviously between now and we'll have. I mean, today we're recording on a Wednesday, so Thursday, Friday, there's plenty of time. So we'll be tweeting stuff out at Notorious KRO at Greasy Rules 14. If we're adding stuff to our card, it will be tweeted out there. If you want to have conversations about bets you're considering, it will be tweeted out there. I added the Browns money line and Nick Chubb to have 2 touchdowns, which both looked great until that holding call, and then the Browns just letting the Raiders go kick a field goal. So
one more thing about that game. How bad are the Raiders that they almost lost to a Browns team led by Nick Mullins, who hadn't played a single snap all season?
But they're also, I don't know how much prep went into that, and whether they were actually preparing for Baker, and they kind of, I don't know.
Yeah, but it was the offense. The Raiders' offense is atrocious.
The one thing, though, is the Raiders were able to block Cleveland, a thing that I didn't think they could do, and they were having a field day in the backfield with Max Crosby.
Yeah.
And if they're able, obviously we'll talk about them, but if they're able to do those 2 things, they can be really good. But yeah, it just, I don't know. That was a weird game. Anything on Thursday? Obviously, I'm Titans fan, so I'm not gonna go too crazy. But any feelings, any thoughts? The Titans getting AJ Brown and Julio Jones, so this might be a really good spot to bet a team that, when healthy, can be really good. Or, are the Niners, as someone holding a 45-1 ticket on them to win the Super Bowl, should we be looking at them as a team that's rounding into form? Jimmy Garoppolo has been absolutely lights out outside of a couple absolutely miserable throws. Running the ball well, playing great defense. Any thoughts there?
I hate to say it, but I'm leaning pretty heavily 49ers
Okay.
money line here. Tennessee is going to be without their entire left side of their offensive line. Taylor Lewan got ruled out. Roger Saffold got put on the COVID list, so keep an eye on the Titans offensive line
Saffold
group.
was out last week, but yeah, it's not great.
Like that could spread throughout the whole front line.
Well,
You're going to have Nick Bosa.
And this is a bad week to not have an offensive line.
Yeah,
the Niners are going to be in your backfield, Nick Bosa, and that makes things so much better. Like, their secondary has magically improved over the past month, and it's because their pressure rates have gone through the roof. So I can't bet this. I'm too close to both teams, but
yeah, I will say I'm leaning the under in this game just because both defenses have been playing really good of late, and Tennessee kind of knows especially if they're going to be without their offensive line, they're going to have to play more of like ball control type offense, run, quick passing, all that. And I do think that Tennessee's defense does well against what San Francisco does well on offense, which is running. And so there's going to be a battle of strengths on the defensive side of the ball for Tennessee against San Francisco. So it'll be interesting to see if Garoppolo can throw the ball on them.
And the Titans defense, as bad as frustrating as the game was against Pittsburgh, is getting healthier. Bud Dupree was actually able to play. Harold Landry out there. Another week for Zach Cunningham. There's pieces. The secondary is pretty solid. Let's shift our focus. Let's talk about Sunday's slate, and let's find some value. Brian, what lines are jumping off the board? Is there one that is kind of your favorite from this bunch?
Oh yeah, that's easy. Buffalo. We talked about this a few weeks ago when they should have beaten the Patriots. All it took was a few completions, and better play calling, and now they're a plus money dog in New England. I love what the Patriots are doing, but the Bills to me still are the better team. The offense is still good, even without Cole Beasley. Whatever, they don't need him. Gabe Davis looks great. Emmanuel Sanders practiced on a limited basis. Stephon Diggs is still Stephon Diggs. And New England now had Ramondre Stevenson pop up on the injury report today with an illness. So,
and there is the regular flu and stuff going around, but it is definitely
it's definitely precarious when you keep seeing this pop up on the injury reports.
I got to tell you, was it Saturday when those two teams played? Grin from ear to ear.
Yep.
Biggest grin.
Well, you and I were both obviously the game ended up being all that line. Indy right away.
Sometimes when you see it, it's too obvious, but that one I was just ear to ear. Just Jonathan Taylor running all over him. That last run, I was giddy. I was like a little kid on Christmas. 100% agree with you. We'll see if it works out 2 weeks in a row, but I think the Patriots are a lot closer to, a 9-17 than they are to a 13-3 or whatever they were being propped up to be. I got a few. I'm going to rip through. Let me see here. So the first one, I want to pick your brain. Minnesota plus the 3 at home is really, really tempting. The Rams, real wonky schedule, obviously played on Tuesday, quick turnaround to play on Sunday. This is a Vikings team that I don't think is good, but I don't think is bad. I think they offensively can do enough to hang with the Rams if they need to. They'll obviously do something really. This feels like a game where Minnesota's up 24-6, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, Minnesota's got it together." And they end up losing by like 2. So I would definitely I would much rather just take the +3 than the money line with this, with the Kirk Cousins led Jabroni squad. But the Vikings +3 are on the short list, and I think I'm going to put them on the card.
Yeah, I would lean that direction if I was going to go ATS in this game, but for me, I'm going Rams money line in this spot. I do think that they've kind of gotten back to what they want to do on offense. Now they have a two-headed monster in
100%.
the backfield finally. Sony Michel is kind of the bruiser. They use Darrell Henderson as more of the pass catcher right now. Cooper Kupp is absolutely unstoppable with Matthew Stafford. They've gotten Van Jefferson more involved in the offense. Odell Beckham Jr. saw one target.
Yeah.
They didn't even need him. And then I can't, as good as Kirk Cousins has looked this season, it's going to be a different task this week with Aaron Donald breathing down his neck in his face, up the middle. And that's where quarterbacks like Cousins have the most difficulties when they get pressure up the middle. So I do think that the Rams will wind up winning, but it should be close.
And if you're like Brian, and you think the Rams are the side, you can do however you want. But my thought is either wait until that game gets going a little bit, let the Vikings get a lead, and then attack it. Get yourself a nice plus money line, or maybe split it. If you normally bet $50, put 25 on the first on the game outright, and then wait for that line, see how it shakes out a little bit, because I think there is going to be a live betting opportunity on the Rams, and that might be something where I take the Vikings +3, and then I take the Rams money line live and try and get a Rams win by 1 or 2 points.
No, that'd be a good way to double up.
Yep. Let's talk about those Raiders, because I think that game is incredibly interesting. I
felt very strongly about this before I saw all of the different injury updates.
Drew Lock is not the answer, and if Max Crosby and that Raiders pass rush can get to him, I think they could make this game really ugly. And even without Josh Jacobs, without Kenyon Drake, it actually might help the Raiders because they might throw a little bit more. And I know like the Bryan Edwards, Zay Jones, Hunter Renfrow trio isn't like the sexiest, but they can make plays. Hunter Renfrow is a stud. Maybe Foster Moreau catches a touchdown, doesn't fumble it. I don't know. I just think that even in Peyton, like as much as we like talk shit about Peyton Barber, like, is he really that much of a difference? Like, can he be 80% of what Josh Jacobs
you saw what he did early this season. Yeah. I mean, it was perfect evidence. Like, he filled the role that they wanted Josh Jacobs to do better than Josh Jacobs early on in the year. So there's definitely a reason to think that the running game should function pretty much the same, minus all those guys if they do miss. However, the one thing that I worry about in this spot is the fact that the guy who did get put officially on the COVID list was another corner for the Raiders, and they're also going to be without Jonathan Abram. And one thing we saw with Drew Lock is that they're going to take some shots down the field.
And if he hits Tim Patrick once or twice, all of a sudden that game could get a little wonky. Raiders are on the card. I think they're the right side, but I could totally see that being like, 27-10 and me looking real dumb. What else are you looking at on the Sunday slate to potentially attack?
Well, like I had originally had the Raiders on my card, but I had to kind of put a pause on that until I get a little more clarity on what's happening there. But and then I do like Pittsburgh going into Kansas City, getting the points. I know it's disgusting, and how the hell can I trust Ben Roethlisberger and that abysmal offense? But there's just something about Mike Tomlin in December and the way that he gets his teams up, and
the Steelers stink. The Steelers are really bad.
I know. I don't know why I'm buying into it, but
TJ Watt, when healthy, can be an absolute game wrecker. But
getting over a touchdown, like
good luck to you.
I know they're bad and they have looked really bad, but I don't know if they can get some kind of pressure on Patrick Mahomes. I think that this game could be kept pretty interesting. So I like Pittsburgh with the 7.5 as it is right now.
T's and P's to you, my friend. If I had to bet it, I would be going with KC. But yeah, that's not a game I'm trying to get to. What are we doing with your Dallas Cowboys? 10.
The line keeps creeping up.
So part of me wants to buy in because I think because obviously last time we saw this, Dallas was dump trucking them and very Green Bay Packers like let the Washington football team crawl back into the game. But like, are we Kyle Allen or Garrett Gilberting our way to another week, or are we gonna get Heineke back?
I would assume both those guys actually come off the list because it'll be more than 10 days by the time we get here.
Yeah,
especially for a Sunday night spot. Honestly, to tell you the truth, this won't be on my card just because I would be pissed if they didn't cover. But if I'm not a Cowboys fan, I'm probably laying the points here because with how good the Cowboys defense has been playing and the lack of explosiveness presented by Washington, there's no reason to think that this Cowboys offense shouldn't get back rolling a little bit, especially with Pollard suffering no setbacks last week. So I think the running game should be fine. I think that Dak and the passing offense should be fine this week. I would lay the points here.
What about let's go to Cincinnati where they play this Ravens team that 2 weeks in a row has had no business being a part of the game in the fourth quarter, and 2 weeks in a row had very real shots to win the game. Especially last week where they were literally going for 2 to win the game.
Yeah.
A move I 100% agree with, by the way. Is this so? I guess the question is the Ravens team we saw the last 2 weeks, like, are we going to see, are they actually a good team that it takes them a little while to get going? Or are they a shitty team that has gotten lucky to crawl back into games they had no business being a part of? And this is the week that that streak kind of rolls out and Cincinnati just dump trucks them like they dump trucked Pittsburgh, week 5 or week 7 or whenever that was.
Well, that's funny you say that because I think we've talked about this division multiple times this year already about how from week to week, we don't know who the hell is the best team in this division.
Yeah.
As it stands right now, I like Cincinnati in this spot just because they're the healthier of the two. And I think that their defense has played a little bit better than what people thought it would this year with Trey Hendrickson coming off the edge and Sam Hubbard coming off the edge, which I think should give Baltimore some issues. But it's a matter of whether or not we see the good Joe Burrow or the mediocre, I'm going to throw wild passes and Jamar Chase can't catch shit.
Yeah.
Offense. Like,
all right, a couple quick hitters for you. We'll hit some props. We'll hit the tees. We'll hit our best bets, and we'll get out of here. Should we be betting Carolina, who, whatever we think of Sam Darnold, is better than what Cam Newton has been, versus a Tampa Bay team that has no Godwin, no Fournette, maybe no Evans, potentially Antonio Brown back. Rojo season is in full effect. It took 16 weeks to get there, but we got there.
Don't forget Le'Veon Bell.
I already did. He's more likely to get in a Jake Paul fight than he is to be in a key factor in an NFL game. Panthers or Bucks, 10.5.
It's funny you say that because I actually like Carolina with the points.
Yeah, I think Carolina is the move. I think a lot of people are going to tease Tampa, and I think you want to do it the other way. I think Carolina is absolutely
because Carolina is going to have to muddy this up, especially without the lack of offensive weapons for Tampa coming in.
And as much as I hate the Falcons, laying the points at them, I think is 100% the move. They are not a good team, but they are better than the bad teams.
Yep.
And a lot of people are going to see what the Lions did last week, jump on that bandwagon. That, in my head, this should have been 3 or 4 points. So 6.5 tells me all I need to know. And then, and maybe we can argue about this one. The Monday Nighter. We got New Orleans hosting Miami. New Orleans is still a bad football team.
Give me the Saints money line here.
Give me the Dolphins money line here. We will go heads up on this one, sir, because
I have a feeling this game could be about 60-40 in terms of fan dispersion of 60% Dolphins fan, 40% Saints fan. So it's not necessarily going to be a full out road game for the Saints.
1,000%. And I will give myself a 5% chance that I watch more than 10 minutes of this game. This is going to be a crap-tastic voyage. If you do like the Saints, I think the under is the play, but woof! We're looking at 38.5, 39 points.
Yeah, that's disgusting. I would tease that up and take the under. Tease that with.
So take the Dolphins, add 7, and then take the under and add 7, and then you're at what 45.5 and Dolphins plus 10. That's the move. That is how you bet Monday night. So bet it. Thank us later. You can send us a little tip in the tip jar if you want, but I think that's the move. All right, let's talk props. I think there's some opportunities this week, Brian. Wow, we got some opportunities. Is there something jumping out to you, sir?
So I haven't dove too deep into these. I do know that whenever the Chargers props come out, like I'll be looking at Justin Jackson rush yards this week going up against Houston, regardless of Austin Eckler's status for this game.
I'll also be looking at Peyton Barber props as he is not, if they're going to feed him as much as I think they can. And I think Vegas can stay in it. I think they make a lot of sense. The Thursday night game, I think there's opportunity with A.J. Brown and Julio back. Tannehill's passing yards are only 216.5. I think there's opportunity there. If you think the Titans can make this a game or be competitive, Garoppolo's number is 235.5, and if he has to throw, that could be an opportunity. But if you think the Niners kind of roll this and it's a lot of running, then under might be the play there.
It's interesting too, real quick on that game, on the Thursday night game. Tannehill's passing touchdown prop is sitting at 1.5.
Under.
I do think I like it with the plus money here to potentially get some.
He's only had 2 games all season long where he's thrown more than one touchdown.
That's all right. I want the added juice.
Granted, he has played like 60% of the season with half a receiver, so if there's ever a time to do it. Donta Foreman, who has been good but was also banged up, his rushing prop is 45.5. I guess if you think the Titans are going to get blown out, then that's probably not the move, but he could be interesting here.
I'm taking the under. Jeff Wilson Jr.'s rushing yards right now, 67.5. I would be betting under in this spot against a really tough Tennessee defense.
Man, Jonathan Taylor's total is 106.5. That's a lot.
I'm smashing the over in that spot. The fact that Detroit was able to do what they did last week, and it's not like Arizona was unaware
what the dude's name? Craig Jennings or Craig
Reynolds?
Craig Reynolds, yeah,
squad guy, like preseason superhero. Yeah, exactly.
I will say Josh Jacobs does have a rushing prop out, so that's an interesting sign for a player that we'll see. No passing, no receptions on our friend AJ Brown. We'll try and tweet some more stuff out as the week goes along. On Wednesdays, it's really tough. There's not a lot. There's some Niners Titans. There's some Broncos Raiders. This one I'm taking the under, and this is a bad line. Jeff Wilson Jr. carries 17.5 under. Debo back. I think the Titans make this game competitive. I'd be shocked
I was just going to say, I don't think San Francisco is going to be running away with this, so they're not going to be able to just sit on the ball. Another one that I do like in this spot too is, I hate picking on Jeff Wilson Jr. this week. Maybe it's because he screwed me over in fantasy 2 weeks ago, before he was fully healthy. So his longest rush yards prop is at 14.5. He's not really that guy that gets those big burst gains. Like
you're not that guy, pal.
He gets like 7-8 yards, and then he gets tripped up or he runs out of
gas. I think that makes a lot of sense. Tannehill's is interesting. 8.5 yards seems like a long run for him, but
Carson Wentz has the same longest yards.
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor 20.5 is really, really, really tempting. Okay. Tease everyone, Brian. Let us know where you're going with your teaser.
All right. Thanks a lot, Tampa Bay, for not scoring any freaking points last week and screwing me over. So let's move on to this week here. So sticking with that difficult game to bet, the Packers hosting the Cleveland Browns, I'm teasing this down to around 1 or 1.5, regardless of where you get this. I do think that Green Bay wins this game, and it at least by a field goal. I don't think it's within 1 point, so I'm teasing that one down. The Falcons currently sitting at around a 5.5 or 6. I know you don't really do this, but teasing them down to a pick 'em, depending on if they're a 6-point favorite or even back down to a money line dog. I think for me, it makes too much sense. I don't think they're going to lose to Detroit. The Chargers visiting Houston, even without Austin Eckler, they're double-digit favorites currently. Even if Eckler doesn't play, teasing this down to around 4, I think the Chargers run away with this spot, especially with the news that Brandon Cooks got put on the COVID list today. So there's a possibility he doesn't play. And without him, yeah, Houston won't be able to do anything. And then the last one, I think this is a play even without teasing, but Seattle teasing this from 6.5 down to 0.5 point at home in another must-win spot for them. They got eliminated, but the Bears are a mess. They're a train wreck. As long as Matt Nagy's still there, they're not going to win any road games, especially up at the Lumen Field, I think it's called now, in Seattle. So teasing the Seahawks down to a 0.5 point favorite makes too much sense here.
Yeah, no, I like a lot of those calls. I think they make a lot of sense. At least this is one thing and one thing only, Brian. It's time for our Week 16 best bet. And for me, there's a few games making the short list, but I'll let you have the tea and tell me where you're going.
Well, I'm taking the torch away from you here, but I'm going against the New England Patriots, and my best bet this week is going to be the Bills on the money line.
Yes.
Buffalo getting points in New England. I know that's a tough place to play. I know the Patriots have played really well this year, but I do think that the Bills are ready to hit their stride again as we get into the playoffs, and I like the Bills on the road to take this win.
Yeah, Bills are on the short list. The Colts are on the short list. Carolina could make a lot of sense. Philly, we didn't really talk about Philly Giants, but I think there's a lot of potential there. But I'm going to go with Cincinnati. I'm going to do 3. There's a few 2.5s out there, and if you can get that, highly, highly, highly recommend it. Lamar Jackson may be back. I'm not really sure that it matters. I think the Bengals are a better team. I'll probably end up with egg on my face, but I don't think this is a team that's just going to keep magically coming out of games with, down 3 touchdowns and all of a sudden they're back in it. So I will bank on that. I will take the Bengals minus the 3. Brian and I will try and tweet stuff out maybe Friday or Saturday to give you guys an updated look at our betting cards. We will be back next week to recap all the craziness. Enjoy the holidays with your family, and we'll talk to you guys next time.